This morning I shared on Instagram that I feel called to share, I guess, my journey through this healing of my back and curing of my cancer in a video journal. And so I put a poll on Instagram to see what you guys think. And the overwhelming majority of people who voted said yes, give us a video log. A few people did say no, but my assumption is just going to be that they're not going to watch this video, which is fine. Some people voted for YouTube, some voted for Instagram. So I think I'm going to be posting YouTube videos and then maybe doing like snippets for Instagram. I'm also going to try not to say like too much, but no guarantees. So I wanted to make this first video sort of a summary of what has happened so far in this journey. So basically on April 4th, April 4th was a Monday, sorry. So that week I started having back pain on Wednesday, April 6th. I was at CrossFit and the workout included jump rope. So I went to do some jump rope and I felt this sharp pain, like a knife in the middle of my back when I landed, but it was only when I landed. So it was weird and I decided just not to jump rope. And then I think whenever I box jumped, I also realized, wow, that hurts. And it really wasn't a muscular pain. It didn't bother me at any other point. But when I landed while jumping rope or box jumping, it was this just sharp pain in the middle of my back. And then within a couple weeks, I couldn't really run because the impact of landing while running was causing me a lot of pain. And I think about a month went by and I finally spoke to a CrossFit member who's a chiropractor and said, I really think I need to enlist the help of a chiropractor. So I started seeing him and he took x-rays, everything looked good. And he showed me where my posture is poor and where he could help with alignment and stuff, but there were no fractures anyway. So I started going to chiropractic. I actually went like 2 to 3 times a week. And sometimes I would feel much better, and then sometimes I would feel worse. And by the end of about a month, I was in much worse shape than I had been earlier. And I really think it had nothing to do with the chiropractic. It was that, as we know now, I had a tumor growing in my spine. But what happened was during that, like at the very tail end of that month, on May 30th, which was Memorial Day, I went to urgent care because I was just having so much pain. My right rib cage just felt riddled with trigger points and it was so painful. I can't even explain it. It just hurt so bad. I knew something was really wrong. I was convinced I had like broken ribs maybe. And in that month of April and May sometime, I had tripped on the steps out on the porch and grabbed the railing and caught myself with the railing and sort of twisted and caused a lot of pain. But I thought maybe I had sprained or strained the intercostal muscles that are the muscles between your rib cage. I'm sorry, this is awkward because I'm right there, so I'm looking over here, but I think the camera's right here. So anyway, so I thought maybe I had a sprain or a strain of the intercostal muscles. And anyway, it just kept getting worse. So finally, I think it was, I went to urgent care on May 30th and they took x-rays and there were no fractures. They said everything looked good, my ribs looked fine, my back and spine looked fine, but they did find a 2.5 centimeter nodule in my right lung. And they said, lung nodules are very common. They occur a lot of the time after an upper respiratory infection. They're sort of like scarring. It's nothing really to worry about, but If they're over 2 centimeters, which yours is, we usually like to follow up with a CT scan. So you're going to have to see your primary care and they'll refer you for a CT scan. It's just sort of standard procedure, but we're not worried about it. So I left not knowing what's wrong with my back, but now worried about this lung nodule, but not that worried because, again, they had just reassured me that they're very common and typically not something to worry about. So I go see my PCP the next week. At urgent care, they had prescribed a steroid, a Medrol pack, a muscle relaxer, and I think that's it. And I just didn't like the idea of taking these drugs. And up until that point, for 2 months, I had really powered through without taking Aleve, Tylenol, ibuprofen, nothing. I just really I was eating a low sugar diet, a low inflammatory diet too. So I think that really helped with pain management, but I was not in great shape. So then the next week I see my PCP, and she also talks about the lung nodule, that it's really not something to worry about. We're going to have a CT scan. She encourages me to try the Medrol pack and the muscle relaxer, which I was still resistant to, but I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll do it. So then I go back home, and I think it was that week or the following week, I was supposed to drive the school bus for my son's kindergarten end of year trip. And I had to text the teacher that morning, I think it was a Tuesday, and say, I cannot go. I'm so sorry, but I can't drive. I was in, such debilitating pain from muscle spasms that I couldn't even function. That pain had actually started the night before on a Monday, and I texted my friend Danielle, who is also my new boss, but I haven't worked for her yet. She's a physical therapist, so I texted her, and she got me in, I think, that same day, and did some really gentle stuff that made me feel so much better. And she said, if you do decide to take the steroid, you will feel better. And so I did, and it did make me feel better, the steroid, and I started taking the muscle relaxer only at night. So then, after that, I think I had to sort of wait, I guess, for the CT scan. So school wrapped up. My husband and the boys and we actually went to the Adirondacks for a family trip. And then I get back and I finally get my CT scan, and I go to the CT scan, and at the end, the tech comes out and she says, yeah, I'm going to put this through stat. This does not look good. And I said, what doesn't look good? The nodule? She said, oh, I don't know about the nodule. That doesn't look ugly at all. I'm not sure how they'll read that, but your spine does not look okay. And I'm thinking, what's going on with my spine? The x-ray looked totally fine. 2 more days go by, and on Friday, June 24th, so now it's been 25 days since I was at urgent care, I get the CT results online, and they say it's likely a pathological fracture. And the language is a little difficult to understand, but essentially it identified a T7 lesion, and I had a tumor basically eating my T7 vertebra from the inside out. So that was on Friday, June 24th. On Monday, June 27th, I was seen by a nurse practitioner at a local neurosurgeon, and she was freaking out, and she showed me my CT, so you can see a side view of my spine, and in T7 there's just a black hole. She was like, I don't know what that is. So that's where the saga really began. And from that point on, I was referred to oncology. I've had more MRIs than I count. I think I've had 10 or 12 scans between MRIs, PET scan, bone scan, and CT scans. And some of them have been repeated. Some of them have only been done one time. Some were with contrast, some were without. I've had lots of x-rays too. And I've had a lung biopsy of the nodule and a kyphoplasty to my T7, which honestly is sort of just a Band-Aid. My back is not really much better, but the samples taken during the lung biopsy and the kyphoplasty surgery both confirmed melanoma. So, my first visit to an oncologist, they suspected lung cancer, and I'll talk about that more in another video, but it turns out it's melanoma. So I have a nodule in my right upper lung that is melanoma, and I have a tumor in my T7 vertebra that is also melanoma, and then a chest lymph node lit up. So really it's like this little area that has cancer. As far as they know, my abdomen and pelvis are all clear. They did a CT scan with and without contrast. It was clear, and my PET scan also did not light up in that area. The PET scan did not light up in my brain, but it didn't go to like the tippy top of my skull. So they also did a bone scan, and I think the bone scan, all that lit up was my T7, the spinal tumor, but then like a little area somewhere up in my forehead, I think, lit up. So they were kind of worried, but then I did a skull CT, and the skull CT ruled out any metastasis in the skull. And the skull CT was clear, like no indication of metastasis. And then I just had a brain MRI last night, which we do not have the results of, but I've been reassured many times that it's really just to get a baseline measurement. They aren't expecting to find any tumors in my brain because the PET scan and the skull scan haven't shown anything. So that's pretty much where I am. In future videos, I would like to elaborate a little more on I guess some of those specific doctor's appointments, because I have really different takes on all the different people and the purpose they served in my life. And, you know, I could share more about what I have felt in some of those visits, but I really just wanted to use this video to get people up to speed on sort of how this all unfolded. So really, it's been about 6 weeks, almost 7 weeks, I guess, since we discovered the pathological fracture. And it took about a month to really get an answer regarding the type of cancer. And I've seen a specialist for melanoma in Boston, and I've seen a neurosurgeon in Boston. He is the director of neurosurgery at MGH, Mass General Hospital, and he's going to be doing a surgery for me in, I guess, 12 days, or maybe, no, less than that, 10 days, 11 days. Anyway, August 29th, I will be undergoing a surgery where they're actually going to take out the T7 vertebra and stabilize T5, 6, 8, and 9, put in sort of like a prosthetic T7. I don't know the best word for it, but I will ultimately show you a picture. I'll try to get a picture to show people. I don't know, that kind of stuff interests me, and I have a lot of rehab friends, so they might also be interested. All right, I'm pushing 14 minutes here, so I should wrap up. But really, I thought it was most appropriate to kind of show how things have progressed. And honestly, I feel like this timeline is so significant because although I started having back pain on April 6th, and it's now been months and months and months, this ordeal in terms of like medical care and understanding that, oh, we're actually dealing with an urgent matter, has moved really quickly since they found out I had a pathological fracture on a Friday and got me into neurosurgery on the following Monday. And after that, it's been boom, 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 just getting me in for my scans, getting me in to see the oncologist, getting me in for the specialist in Boston, the 2 specialists in Boston. Everything has really unfolded very quickly. And although I haven't started treatment yet, the plan was to start treatment about a week ago, but they're instead going to wait until after my surgery on the 29th. But the only thing I want to wrap up with is that my faith is very strong, and I really believe that this is just something I have to go through, and it's going to be difficult. There are going to be highs and lows. I've already had some lows. But I've also had so many highs, way more highs than lows. And I do feel called to share. I just feel like God is asking me to share this, to give my testimony. And that's what I hope to do with some of these videos, is just tell you my prayer stories, tell you the stories about God guiding me and leading me through this. And the reason I'm not really afraid or worried is because he has revealed himself to me over and over again throughout this process. And so I just can't help but feel really held and loved and optimistic and protected, really. I think God has a really great plan for me, and that the only way I'm going to get to live the life that he has planned for me is by going through this first. I really believe he's asking me to surrender and to turn over the reins to him, basically. So although my faith had been restored over the last couple of years, I was still calling all the shots. And it was only probably since last October that I finally started really listening and letting God call the shots. And it was really good timing because things got kind of bad, as I just explained, in the spring and summer. So anyway, I feel like he's saying, all right, you were complacent for long enough. You've had a spell of peace and quiet, but you really were just kind of complacent in that period. And it's really time for you to achieve greatness, but before that, you're going to need to surrender. And so I'm honestly looking forward to it, and I hope you enjoy following along. All right, good night.